Coming up today on the Locked On Hornets podcast, the Raptors, they beat the Bugs. They're too big, long, athletic. There is a 2-minute report, though. I don't know if it's going to change anything, but there is a 2-minute report. Tre Mann is injured. He's down. His stats are down. And people are asking, is the sneak tank on for the Charlotte Hornets? That's all today. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your pods, and that includes YouTube. You might want to check us out because we are, after all, the #1 sports podcast network. And you guys helped us get there, so we appreciate you making us your first listen and continue to do so. Subscribe, like, rate us on YouTube. All of your favorite Locked On shows, Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd, Locked On NBA. It's a lot of Locked On stuff out there. Make sure you're listening to this one, though. And also make sure you're checking out Doug Branson, his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton. He's going to be taking off Tuesdays, I think, for the foreseeable future. I don't know how temporary it is, but I'll be going solo. Me, Walker Mehl. You can listen to me every weekday on Sports Radio, 92.7 WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. on Wes and Walker, where I'll be talking about the Hornets. I'll be talking about all the good, all the bad, all the Hornet stuff. That's all I'm doing. Talking Hornets constantly here on the podcast network and also on Sports Radio 92.7 FM. I'm talking about a loss, a tough one. Hornets lose to the Raptors last night, 110-108. Just too big, man. Last couple plays. Thought we had it. Ryan Kalkbrenner with an excellent dish on a LaMelo drive. Got blocked from behind by Brandon Ingram. Clean as hell. Zero issue with that block. Nobody thought that was a foul. Eric Collins, Del Curry, everybody knew that was a clean block. They get a second go at it, a third go at it, because the Hornets, they inbound the ball. They give it to Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges decides to go with a fadeaway jumper. Maybe had Sion off of the screen on the inbounds pass. Maybe had Con Knipple in the corner. Would have been tough. Brandon Ingram felt like he would have closed in on that. But Miles takes the fadeaway jumper, a second hero attempt on the season. It goes begging. Colin Sexton gets the offensive rebound, puts it back up as quick as you can, but Colin, he's tiny. Scotty Barnes does not have T-Rex arms. He has like 10 times the size of T-Rex arms, and he gets a clean block. I know there were some questions. Eric Collins, he was questioning it last night about a possible foul, not up top. He admitted, we all saw, Scotty Barnes got a clean block on Colin Sexton's putback attempt, but it was after the block. Did he get too much contact on Colin afterwards? That did not show up in the 2-minute report that was released within the last hour or so of this recording. The NBA 2-minute report from last night's Hornets-Raptors game indicated that there was one missed call, though, that would have benefited the Hornets. Something we didn't pay attention to. I know I didn't address it on Wes and Walker earlier today. There was one missed call. The 2-minute report indicated that there was an uncalled turnover on Brandon Ingram, who stepped out of bounds on the baseline prior to RJ Barrett's go-ahead basket with 22 seconds left. Remember, Brandon Ingram catches it short corner. LaMelo goes for the double team. Does a pretty nice job of forcing it out of Brandon Ingram's hands because they didn't want Brandon to go ISO post-up opportunity on Colin Sexton. Real big mismatch there. So LaMelo goes. He forces the ball out of his hands. Everybody's got to scramble, and Miles Bridges loses RJ Barrett on the cut. RJ hits the go-ahead basket. But the 2-minute report says Brandon Ingram stepped out of bounds. I didn't see it. I went back and watched this play. You couldn't see it from the camera view. The broadcast, it didn't catch it either. The official who missed it is right there. Straight up, could not get a better look at it if he had a magnifying glass an inch away from Brandon Ingram's foot. The only way that he could have gotten a better look at it. And just wasn't paying attention. Got caught up in the game, front row seats, eating some popcorn. I mean, I kid because nobody caught it. If we didn't, I guess you could expect the official to do his job and get all the right calls. But I mean, look, human error, whatever. Nobody else saw it except for hindsight, going back and reviewing the footage. That was in the 2-minute report last night. There was a no call against Musa also. They did say that there was an uncalled Diabate 3-second violation at 1:15. The Hornets didn't score, but nothing on the Colin Sexton no foul call, which I'm fine with, by the way. Like, I don't know about you guys. I feel like the Hornets fans took this pretty well or took it in stride from an officiating standpoint. Like, I didn't see anybody really frustrated with the no call on Colin Sexton. You didn't have a shot with the Brandon Ingram block. Just an excellent play on Ryan Kalkbrenner. You know, there was a lot of contact after the clean play up top with Scotty on Colin, but I didn't see, not on my timeline, not in my little Hornets world that I've curated for myself. I didn't see anybody truly complaining. Tough loss nonetheless on the road. Hornets lose to what has been a good Raptors team, one of the better stories in the NBA from a team standpoint. They go to 9 wins on the season with this victory. The Hornets were right there. Just a couple of notes that I have outside of the 2-minute report. The length and the physicality, it bothered Charlotte. You could see the points per possession for Charlotte. It was among the lower outputs they went with all year long. It affected their shot profile too. And we've seen that a little bit on the season. For instance, in this game against the Raptors, the Hornets basically switched their shots at the rim and all their mid-range attempts. On average, the Hornets take 33.5% of their shots at the cup and a quarter of their shots in the middle of the floor. Last night, flip it. Almost exactly. 26% of their attempts were at the basket. 34% of their shots were in the middle of the floor. What's interesting is that shot profile was almost identical to what it looked like against Oklahoma City. The only other time middies took up 30% of their shot diet was against Orlando, and they got to the line last night at least. That was something different, but still, they just didn't hit their threes, and that was the killer. So you have a Charles Lee coach team that doesn't take a whole lot of mid-range jumpers, but the times that they do, there have been 3 times where they've been in the 50th percentile or above, according to Cleaning the Glass, on a game-per-game basis. All of those games came against teams that had all of the arms, all of the size, all of the length. Toronto, OKC, who just refuses to allow you to score one, but they refuse to allow you to score in the paint. And then Orlando, we saw how much the Hornets struggled with their size down low in that matchup. Other rapid fire observations for me. You know, Kalkbrenner's been great. We're nitpicking with all the rookies, right? Like, I don't want to be worried about the wrong stuff. But if we're just talking about what was limited, what the Hornets don't have in some of these situations, you know, maybe I'd like to see Kalkbrenner with a little more nasty. How much is that developed as he grows in the NBA? Dude's played like 13, 14 games all year long. So it's okay to not have the nasty right now. But when's the nasty show up for Kalkbrenner? Right now, what he does to me is he does a great job of limiting accuracy at the rim, deterring some of those shots at the cup, finishing offensively despite the contact. I don't feel like he's dishing it out, but he hits despite people pushing him all the way with their butts to the baseline, pushing him with both of their hands. You know, in pickup basketball, I'm going to make this about me for 1 second. The best compliment I ever received in pickup basketball was, I could stab this guy and he would still find a way to make the basket. That's how I feel Kalkbrenner is. All right, now I made it about me, but you get the idea. Perhaps a little bit of a different level of playing basketball with me at the Student Activity Center on Charlotte's campus compared to the Spectrum Center / Toronto. Is it still Air Canada? I don't know what it is. Perhaps a little bit of a different level of basketball being played. But Ryan Kalkbrenner, he takes the punishment and he finishes despite it. Maybe we dish out the punishment as we start to get a little bit older, as we start to grow in the league. It's cool that you don't have it now. I think you missed some of that in this game, like Musa brought, where, I mean, he just comes in 4 blocks and how many minutes did he play? Like Musa, yeah, 4 blocks in 20 minutes. Dude was a ball of energy coming off of the bench. Just excellent stuff from Musa Diabate once more. And finally, I think people noted that Con Knippel did not shoot at all in the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds of this game. His last field goal attempt came with 98 points registered for the Hornets. It was an above the break three, kind of in transition with him trailing. And that was the last shot. That was it. Despite Con on the game finishing up as the leading scorer and doing so efficiently. 9 of 16 from the field, 4 of 10 from three-point land, made both of his free throws, 7 rebounds, still had a few turnovers. Want to limit that. But we didn't see any more shots after that last one. Would like for him to get another shot. I don't think Hornets fans are misguided in wanting that at some point in winning time in the last third of the fourth quarter, but didn't happen. Miles Bridges, man, another bad hero shot. I don't feel like that's what Charles Lee drew up. I went through the options at the beginning of the show. Felt like maybe Sion James on that screen for LaMelo off of the inbounds pass. Pirtle was worried about LaMelo, gravity, baby, coming off of that screen. Sion, it felt like if you cut hard and stay flat, maybe Miles can hit you. But Miles wasn't even really looking. He'd already spun off of the drive. So, he wasn't looking. He had made his mind up. Like you could see, and that's happened twice. It feels like Miles made his mind up against New Orleans when he took the fadeaway three with two hands in his face. And it feels like he made his mind up that he was going to take this mid-ranger a little bit further than the free throw line. Doesn't find anybody. Hornets lose. Is it a bad loss? And here's the other question. Does the Hornets brass really, 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 really care that they lost? Oh, interesting question. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Got a lot of people asking about the sneak tank. Is it on? Do you hear the R&B music in the background? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by Rippling. I want to put the graphic up here so you guys know what Rippling is all about. There you go, baby. If you're watching us on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access, it runs automatically and perfectly in sync with one another. It's seriously simple to use, too. It gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. And whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. We appreciate them as always. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you'll win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere. Prize Picks operates in a bunch of different states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The new Stacks feature is a game changer. You can now pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your player leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot, that saves your lineup from a loss. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. I know Doug is somewhere smiling because that's kind of his motto. More to come, LOH. Speaking of Doug, again, go check him out on everyhornetsboxscore.com because he's working hard over there on top of Yahoo Sports Daily. And we're working hard here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your number one sports podcast network. Thanks to you for making us such. And because of you, I feel the need to address this next topic. You guys seem to be asking this. Got a little bit of this chatter on the world famous text line on WFNZ. Are they sneak tanking? Is that happening right now? Yeah, I mean, I talked about it yesterday with Doug just a little bit. Certainly some understandable reasons why you might ask that. Liam McNeely playing in crunch time. Drew Peterson, the two-way guy, just got called up, playing significant minutes in the fourth quarter. Sexton to Trey to Sexton. No LaMelo in overtime. All right, I know the minutes restriction, but you're just not going to play him at all. Like, we have a chance to win right here, guys. LaMelo against Milwaukee. You guys have seen him perform against the Bucks before, right? Like, this is the team he destroys. The floater, the triple-double, the 50-burger. No overtime minutes. Yeah, it doesn't seem like decisions you would make if you're hell-bent on winning games. Fair enough. It does make sense if you're looking to get the young guys as much experience as possible so that all these young guys are ready for the future. Coming into the season, you had some rumblings about a possible tank-ish objective. Zach Lowe, he talked about it with Nikias Duncan. This was a podcast they recorded on October 13th, right before the season, and they were discussing really the tank objective within the frame of LaMelo Ball. But there are other things to pay attention to within the soundbite. Here's more from Zach Lowe on the Zach Lowe Show.
There's been a lot of should they trade LaMelo? Is he going to be on the trade market? I do think there are parts of the franchise that would like to take another tank year or semi-tank year. And I think one of the themes of the season is you could win 28, 29 games and be the fifth, sixth worst record in the NBA. And given how the lottery is unfolded with the new odds, that could be okay. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can pretty much compete and still be bad enough to have a shot at one of these top three dudes in the draft. But LaMelo has 4 more years on his contract through 28, 29, where he makes $46 million. I don't really see any kind of realistic scenario where he gets traded this year.
The LaMelo part is interesting, but I want to focus less on the LaMelo part and more on the quote, I do think there are parts of the franchise that would like to tank another year or semi-tank. I want to focus on that part for a moment because the semi-tank, a little baby tank, that looks a decent amount like this to me. Playing the rookies a ton of minutes, keeping them all on the floor at the same time in crunch time, less vets. You don't have to worry a lot about butts and seats, which is kind of the thing you get to dodge with this iteration of the franchise, as you get to dodge that more so than normal tank years for franchises because you still have players to market. You have a guy that's looking great for rookie of the year. Come see the baby bugs. That's easy to market for this squad. So you can kind of hide behind that and you could put out the young guys now, even if it might not be the best lineup that you can put out there on the floor to win games currently. I could see it. The minutes restriction, you could say Brandon Miller's injury and LaMelo Ball's impingement are forcing your hand again. Hey, we got a plan with LaMelo. We have a plan for Brandon. We're not just going to throw him out there on the court and play him 38 minutes a game. No, we need to make sure that they can play 38 minutes a game down the road. Second half of this season, doubt it. I guess you're talking about next year. And then if we're talking about next year, well, okay, you don't have your two best players on the floor, LaMelo and Brandon. Then you're probably going to lose a decent amount of games. Is it enough? Is that the objective? Is the semi-tank on? The sneaky semi-tank. I keep asking the question. It's what Doug used to do a couple years ago. I'm just asking questions. I'm not outright saying they're doing it. I will say this is kind of how it looks like. However, they don't have size on the wing. So when we talk about Liam McNeely staying in there, he might just be getting run because who else is your 6'7" dude that plays the 3? You don't have Brandon Miller. He's injured. Tijan Salon I guess you could argue they'd be tanking even more if Tijon was just on the roster at this point, playing some three. I know he's more of a four. I agree with that, but they just don't have a lot of that kind of physical profile on the squad right now. So, yeah, we kind of do got to go to Drew Peterson. At least he can stretch the floor, got some experience a little bit with him in Boston, Charles Lee during his Boston days. So, yeah, I mean, there are answers to the contrary. I do wonder if Jeff Peterson, under the desk, watching the team be very competitive against Milwaukee, go to overtime, eventually lose. I do wonder if under the desk, on the road against Toronto, almost going to overtime, but the Hornets lose by 2 points. When he sees that result, he goes, man, what an exciting basketball game. Wish we would have won it. But fist bump, tiny little Tiger Woods fist bump under the desk. Yeah, okay. Maybe I would like just a little bit more time. Collect a few more assets and then really go at it next year. We can't go after it this year anyway. No, Jeff Peterson didn't cause this shoulder subluxation to Brandon Miller. Perhaps he's a part of the plan on how you address it afterwards with the medical staff and Brandon and his party. Same thing with LaMelo. But I do wonder if there's just a tiny bit of, I don't like losing basketball games, but, the Zach Lowe sound. There are parts of the organization that wouldn't mind tanking or semi-tanking this year. Maybe he's okay with the semi-tanking, meaning the competitive losses. The other thing to look at, though, is going to the standings and seeing how some of these starts have been awful for some franchises. Going back to the Zach Lowe pod, the one that he just released with Mo Dakhil, they talked about the catastrophic starts to the season for some of these franchises. What does it all mean for the Hornets? And catastrophic, of course, being relatively speaking. Memphis, Clippers, excuse me, I don't know why I'm doing that. Grizzlies, Clippers, Mavs, Kings, Pelicans. Those are the 5 teams that have gotten off to a terrible start. So Clippers, all right, you can focus on them. It's pretty bad given their circumstance, but I have a hard time believing that they're going to have a worse record than the Hornets this year. The other teams, the Grizzlies, the Mavs, the Kings, the Pelicans, the others are varying levels of likely to possibly having a worse record than the Hornets. Better odds of that happening. The East sports 3 teams already that the Hornets can't be worse than in Washington, Indiana, and Brooklyn. It's gone horribly, horribly wrong for those 3 teams. So that puts you in a 3-way tie right now for the 7th best odds at getting the first pick. Oh, yeah, Utah is right behind you. I think they're going to be worse than Charlotte. So that puts the Hornets with the 10th best odds at the first pick. If Utah jumps the Hornets, and eventually the Hornets are on the outside, quote unquote, looking in of that 3-way tie. Are you cool with having the 10th best odds? You look last year, and the Mavs, despite them disgracing the basketball gods, they turned their head and said, oh, well, here, you get Cooper Flagg, even if you made the worst trade of all time. So the odds are more in the favor of some of those teams down the bottom of the barrel in the lottery to get the first overall selection. The odds are more in their favor than they have been with this new format. Plus, you get the Phoenix pick. The Phoenix pick looks like it could hit. 16th right now is where you'd be slotted to take another first-round guy. So at that point, look, if you think about this from a basketball executive standpoint, you got 3 rookies that are balling right now, one that you still have a lot of hope for in Liam McNeely. LaMelo Ball, you got control over his contract. You got control over Brandon Miller's contract. Both of them have talent. Both would be able to get you something out there on the trade market, even if I don't want to do that for either guy. Just to be sure, Brandon Miller, probably the most untradeable guy on this team right now. Colin Sexton's off of the books. You can either bring him back or you could just use that cap space for whatever you want. Let's say Tre Mann turns things around. Tre Mann is on a cheap deal. You've got a decent amount of flexibility. You could trade Miles Bridges. He's on an expiring next year. It's already descending. Yeah, I could see why the front office might be understanding of losing some of these games, but they are competitive losses. That's what a semi-tank looks like to me, even if there are answers to the contrary saying, who else are we going to play? We got to go with Peterson. You want to play Tijon? You think Tijon's going to help us win some of these games? He's not ready. He's not ready right now. He needs to be in Greensboro, and I would agree with that. So it's going to be tough to try to figure what exactly the Hornets are doing all season long. And just taking kind of a first check-in here, taking a look at the first 13, 14 games, first 14 games that they've played, to be exact. They're 4-10 on the season now. Just taking the pulse on that. I don't know if we're ever going to get real clarity on exactly what it is they're doing, of course, unless we experience the big time injury, the injury to LaMelo and Brandon that keeps him out for, a really, really long time. I'll go ahead and knock on wood to try to avoid that. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Tre Mann, he's going to be out, possibly. He's actually doubtful for this upcoming game as listed on the injury report. So he went down with an injury against Toronto. The stats are also down. Kind of an interesting story with what's happening with Tre Mann. We'll get to that in just a moment on LOH. This episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Appreciate them for helping us out here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your ambition, it just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, but you play for the win every day, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, and you can channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends Advanced tools. Or you can take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts, and you can expect more from yourself with all of this. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. This episode is also brought to you by Rougiette. Rougiette helps us out here on the Locked On Podcast Network too. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. And if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, it's simple, it's private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Tre Mann, unfortunate news here coming out from Hornets PR, although it's not the worst. We've certainly had plenty of worse injury news. So this injury update for the upcoming game tomorrow, Wednesday, against Indiana. Josh Green, he continues to sit out. Same thing with Grant Williams having that right knee injury. Liam McNeely missing more time with the illness. Something to monitor there. And Tre Mann suffered that left ankle injury against Toronto. He would leave that game against the Raptors. He would not return. Hornets PR lists him as doubtful. So, you would assume he's not going to suit up. The doubtful, the probable stuff. Man, I don't know how accurate Hornets PR has been when they've listed some of these guys with doubtful or probable, but, who knows? I would say he probably doesn't suit up against this Pacers team. And, it's been unfortunate for Tre this year. You guys saw it, even when the Hornets signed all of the guards. I wanted him back. He's one of my favorite players, one of my favorite dudes to talk to. Great interview. Love getting to know him. Really went through a lot this offseason off of the court and the injury stuff, the back injury that only allowed him to play 13 games. That's it last season. He's already played more games this year than he did all last year. And that's going to be something we come back to. So if you look at what Tre Mann has done this year compared to 2024, 2025, he's played in 315 minutes to this point in 13 games. Last year, he played in 300 minutes. Excuse me, I apologize. 315 in 13 games last year. 300 minutes in 14 games this year. 315 last year, 300 minutes in 14 games this year. Very, very similar, okay? Very similar in terms of run. The problem with Trey is that he's not nearly as good as he was last season. The points per shot attempt, it's real bad. He's turning the ball over. He's not getting to the rim, and that's something that this team misses quite a bit without Colin Sexton. If you don't have Colin Sexton on the floor, then you're kind of lacking in that department. Last year, he was good as a pick and roll ball handler. He was excellent in isolation. This year, he's in the 7th percentile in points per shot attempt in the pick and roll. And he's still good in isolation, just less good than he was last year. The turnovers for Trey have been a real issue. 8.6% turnover percentage on drives last season, 20.7 this year. Big time increase. 8% turnover percentage on isolation plays last year, 20% this year. Okay, yeah. So he was decent on drives. He was good in isolation, but now he's turning the basketball over. He's been a part of a lot of basketball, a lot of losing basketball over the last few years that he's gotten his career started. His minutes have been going down after the first 2 seasons where he appeared in 60 games a pop with OKC. Minutes have been slowly trickling down. Now he's been injured, and also I said he was on losing basketball teams. You talk about that OKC squad. Okay, when he was on it and getting plenty of playing time, then that's not when OKC was making a run in the playoffs. When they did start to accumulate all of these other really impressive players, it was hard for Trey to get any playing time whatsoever. So you're just talking about a lot of inexperience with him, which is interesting because it feels a little bit to me like he's a veteran. He just went through a contract negotiation this offseason. You've seen him now on the team for 3 years, 2.5 to be exact, and he comes over from another team, which kind of adds to a veteran feel, like having been experienced quite a bit. But that's a misnomer. To be exact with this, he played 126 games in his first 2 years. He's played 55 in the last 3 years combined. 126 the first 2 years with OKC, 55 in the last 3 years combined, a little bit with OKC, mostly with Charlotte. And that right there is what's tough to overcome. So, you look at all these sample sizes and you have to wonder how much of any of this is enough to go off of. It's why I think you only feel comfortable paying him $8 million this offseason. Me, I was somebody that was high on the upside. I wanted to make sure that he was going to be a member of the Hornets. I was willing to go more, but kudos to the Hornets front office. They said, hey, we're not going to give you more than $8 million. And I like that contract. It's not going to break the bank by any means. And Charles Lee still trusts Trey. Like, you've seen him play in some clutch time. And I still think he's going to come around and start to perform for you. But it's kind of hard to figure out what your role is on this team. They still want to run a decent amount of pick and roll, a lot of pick and roll with him. I still like some of the isolation possessions. I think he is good at that. Like, he creates otherworldly space with his crossover. It is nasty, man. Like, I've seen him undress dudes, I don't know, a handful of times this year with that crossover. And he's got to knock down some shots, which, ultimately comes down to that. Make or miss league, right? The 3-point percentage, it's way down for Trey right now than it has been the last couple of years. Catch and shoot percentages, actually pretty good from the corner this season, but on other 3-point attempts, every 3-point attempt not taking place in the corner, he's been quite bad, certainly compared to what he was shooting in the past couple of years. Been a little bit of a talking point in the Hornets Twitter sphere and the social media sphere in Spectrum Center. Like, people are wondering, hey, when is Trey Mann gonna look like the extra special Trey Eye that we saw last season that became a fan favorite? He's still there. I'm not giving up. I hope other Hornets fans aren't giving up on Trey after just 14 games, but it might take a while after all this inexperience, trying to figure out your role on a team that is so guard heavy, and having gone through everything that you did this offseason, some personal stuff, but also the injury and the personal stuff. He likes it here in Charlotte. He knows how much the fan base loved him last season. And I know he wants to perform well. I know we want him to perform well. I think we will get some more of that as the year goes on. still way too early, but stats have been down for Trey. There's no doubt about it. Hopefully he can pick it up. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network out there. We appreciate it. Go check Doug out on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Go check out Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton, and listen to me every weekday on Wes and Walker on Sports Radio 92.7 WFNZ. I'm on air every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.